The Red and the Black by Stendhal. That was just his pen name, by the way. But better known by the public as Stendhal. I did have a copy of it, physical, but it was one of those awful, type, 10 by, I don't know the dimensions, but it's like 10 by, one of these kind of things like this, which, this is obviously produced, but not part of his brains, but it was like this kind of thing, where it's like, all awful, and I didn't really want it taking up space in my room, because I hate that. I should have double-checked the dimensions on Amazon, but yeah, I should have, went for, the smaller kind of thing, but anyway, but it is a sizable book, nonetheless, but not impossible to read. I was heard about Stendhal for a long time, namely the Stendhal effect, I think, which is like a psychological effect that I know only on the surface level, which is something to do with hearing a piece of art or being so overtaken by it that you're almost in ecstasy, something to that effect. But this is not so much about that kind of phenomenon, but it's more of a kind of Bildungsroman, going back to that again, about a young man by the name of Julian Sorel, and it starts out in his late teens, I think. He's almost on the verge of possibly his early 20s, maybe. But it starts out when he's working at a shop or a factory as a carpenter. And he's very kind of not upset, but definitely not fulfilled where he is, and he's trying to, and he longs to be a part of. He reads these books, and he's kind of poetic minded, but he's naive in the sense that this came out in 1830, by the way, so it's a lot of kind of Enlightenment ideas at the time, a lot of kind of Goethe's The Sorrows of Young Werther, which Goethe famously denounced later on in his life. He was like, I don't want to be a romantic anymore. But yeah, Romanticism is a big thing. Julian Sorel's so bad. And, probably the French, the Red and the Black would actually be et recherche, redil et noir, something like that. And yeah, he's very much longing to be a part of the upper class French society of aristocrats. At this time, obviously, post-Enlightenment, and also probably the same thing as Balzac, too, with post-Napoleonic society of kind of people trying to be a mix of Enlightenment values of the French Revolution and the Jacobins, and even with the horror that happened with that, the executions and all that. Infamous beheadings, there was still a lot of people that wanted to kind of be a part of this, something to do with the drawing rooms, and I think it's a whole entire new genre of books and literary kind of things that the culture at the time of just drawing rooms, of the French society of aristocratic, of kind of noblemen and people of prestige and all this stuff that is way above me, kind of I'm not even sure this first started with, but it's that kind of thing, which contrasts a lot with say Dostoevsky's kind of show, or Tolstoy's showing of the stark lower class, which at the time was so much of Russia too, but the St. Petersburg slums, the poor one-room apartment of Devershkin, I think, and poor folk, and him falling in love with his second kind of removed cousin, I guess, and they're both writing very much, and it's kind of the opposite of that, in the sense that his love is of a higher, he wants a higher plane, he wants to get out of this place, and he's willing to use whatever means necessary. So Sorel is using machinations, and he's not using, he's not killing it, people, at least not yet. I don't think, but unless I missed something, but he's Sir Julian is very, very much willing to use kind of manipulation in order to get where he needs to go. So he ends up seducing this married woman and has an affair with her, and then he kind of instantiates himself into kind of society that way by kind of being a tutor to them. Kind of reminds me of the movie Parasite. But maybe maybe it ends there with the similarities. But he tries to kind of shoe himself in to the to these upper class kind of French noble people, and which at this point was probably a bunch of different kind of states and kind of different place, not too much unlike Germany with like the different republican different kingdoms and all that. So yeah, he tries to flirt himself into it, trying to, and he ends up kind of disastrous in the end because there's two different books or volumes within this. And in the first one, he's kind of using all sorts of, like a bit, he's doing whatever, means necessary to get to gain a kind of material status. And then in the second part, he's like ends up failing miserably. Like it ends up like tragically. His like I think his own. He does end up truly falling in love with one of these. I think like a general's daughter or something. Like again, kind of noble upper class, but it's true this time. It's not like he's he feels genuine love for sure, but it ends up very depressing. That in the sense that she ends up dying, I think, and he ends up dying too. Ends up getting I think executed. I think or after. I can't remember exactly what it is. I think I think does he end up killing her? I think his own love. I think it does end up with a very kind of romantic kind of tragic, classic tragedy in a sense. But yeah, it's it did take a while. It took me a while to make sense of what was going on. Like what was like well, okay, so he's trying to get himself a upper class kind of trying to live out the dream of that he's been longing for so many for his whole entire youth, kind of romanticizing about, and now he's got what he has, and now he realizes he's gone too far and then he ends up kind of a downfall, and he ends up so yeah, but it's kind of like reminding me a bit of like maybe the old kind of France that Proust was talking about as well, although Proust by the time he was talking about it was like early 1900s, or maybe harkening back to maybe at best late 19th century, and whereas this was probably talking about early 1800s, anywhere from I suppose like 1810 to 1830 when it was written. So yeah, definitely quite something I got to probably brush up on my history in order to kind of fully appreciate. But yeah, so Stendhal's The Red and the Black. So, thanks.